Hello, my name is Craig Mertens. I'm the General Manager of GraphicsFlow. Many people formerly knew us as Digital Art Solutions. We rebranded last May when we introduced our new technology, which is GraphicsFlow. So the name of our company is GraphicsFlow, but the name of our primary technology is also GraphicsFlow. And so I just wanted to say hi and give you a kind of a face to match up with the company. But I'm going to turn off my webcam because we're going to get right into it. All right, so say hi. Here we are. Turn off webcam. Get right into the webcast. All right, you should be seeing my screen. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about art production, and I'm going to be provocative. Are you guys okay? Is provocative okay for you guys? Because I'm going to be a little bit provocative. And let's say for argument that one company has 5 artists and they can produce the same capacity as another company that has 1 artist. The company that has 5 artists is spending literally 4 times as much money on art as the company with 1 artist. Wow. And considering all the labor shortages and things that are going on within the industry and how challenging it is to hire people, art production has become a really significant challenge for a lot of our clients, along with hiring. And it was interesting. I talked to a client today, really good customer of mine, and we're pretty good buddies. And he's in Louisiana, and apparently it's crawfish season again, so it made me a little bit jealous. But we were talking about, their strategy in their art department. They had a whole art department. Now they have a full-time graphic designer, and they also they're outsourcing their more complicated stuff. So they have a outsourced company that's overseas that does all their more complicated stuff. And why was he doing that? Why was he going to that kind of a strategy? Because of the expense of doing artwork. And all things considered, equal in the marketplace, the company that has the better graphics is going to be more successful. If you look at some of the top companies in our industry and what they're doing, all of these companies universally have one thing in common. And the one thing they have in common is they have a sophisticated graphics capability. Now, with that being said, not everybody has the skill set to do artwork at this top level. What I just did is I went to some online catalogs for our graphics builder series, and I'll kind of give you an idea of what I mean. If you're a big company and you're producing graphics, you likely have artists on your staff that have the ability to produce artwork at this level. This is that really clean athletic look that you're seeing, matches up with Nike and Adidas and Reebok and Under Armour. There's kind of an art form to that. Here's kind of that deep retro look, kind of a fake patch with a fake applique look. Where do these designs come from? Well, you have to have vision. So you have to have some creative skill and some vision to do some research to figure out what the graphic trends are and come up with these wonderful ideas. And then you have to have the skill set to put in time to put them together. And this is called creating a product line. And so your bigger companies, they're all going to do this. They have artists and they have art departments for doing this. But if you're that small operation or even a big operation, this is a very expensive thing to do. I know what it costs to build this collection of artwork. This is a graphics builder. I know exactly what it costs to build it, and it is not cheap. You're into 5 figures, deep into 5 figures, just to build this set of artwork. Now we can afford to do that because what we're doing is we're scaling it, so we're selling it to you guys. But if I was doing that for myself internally, I would have to be a pretty big operation to do that. So this customer I was talking to today, one of the things we talked about is, listen, he says, I don't want my art department doing all this like sales prospecting type stuff. I really don't. What I want them to do is my main artist, she's just doing all the prep to get everything ready to go to their screen printing equipment, and they just bought a direct to film printer. Spent a pretty big chunk of change on that. So she's doing kind of all the final prep and some of the rudimentary design stuff like swapping out templates. His outsourced service is doing all the heavy lifting on complex color separations and redrawing things and illustrations and things like that. But he wants their sales team, including himself, to have the ability to do mock-ups and get ideas in front of customers. Wouldn't that be amazing? And that's not a new trend that we see in the industry. That's a very common trend, but very few people adapt that policy. And the people that do, I kind of like this graphic. It looks kind of like the TikTok logo with the three colors with the 3D effect. But some of these more sophisticated companies have adopted that policy. Why? Because they know they can differentiate themselves from the competition by virtue of kind of out graphicing people. I know that's not a real word, but it's a real concept. better graphics win in the marketplace. And whether you're doing, sports related artwork, or we'll kind of back up and we'll show you one of these graphics builders that's a corporate related product. It was pretty interesting. A big company filled out an art request through our demo site for one of our designs, and it was this design. It was pretty funny, and I went in and actually mocked up the design for the company and popped him back an art approval, and he emailed me back. He says, "Wow, I'm really impressed that you would take the time to do that. It'd take me about a minute to do it." But this is, artwork that's kind of at, an elite level that's emulating those retail graphic trends. And so if you want to be able to compete in the art marketplace, there's 3 really super important things that you have to do. Number one, you have to have good graphics, whether you're doing them in-house or you're, utilizing, outsourced services or, freelance designers to do it, or even people like us that do, stock designs. You have to have good graphics. Number two, you have to make it easy for your customers to pick out graphics, because if you don't, you know what they're going to do? They're going to go over to Custom Ink. They are going to go over to do a Pinterest search, Etsy. They're going to do a random Google search, and they're going to screen capture something, and they're going to send you an email saying, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And, 2 kind of not so great things that happened when you do that is, number one, you don't own the copyrights to that logo, so you got to make sure you significantly change it to make sure you don't have any copyright issues, and that's always kind of a risky deal. Number two is that you have to recreate it. It's time consuming. And for people that are trying to reduce their production costs and reduce the amount of, labor they put on their artwork, we don't want to have to do a lot of that kind of work. When we do that kind of work, we want to make sure it counts, that the order size is significant enough to cover our art and labor charges for getting that artwork produced. I don't want to do that on a one-off. I might do that on an order that has 4 dozen pieces that maybe I can bill at, $300-400, right? So that's really important. So we talked about the importance of having better artwork. We talked about the importance of, having the ability to make it easy for your customers to purchase artwork. And then the third part is an approval process. We want to get it right. We want to get it, I always used to say when we had our screen printing business, proof twice, print once. And I was chatting with my mom last week. I can't remember what we were talking. I was telling her about what we were doing with GraphicsFlow and then the art approval thing. And I said, hey, Mom, you remember those Arizonia mugs? She's like, oh, don't remind me. And when she had her retail gift stores, she ordered 1,000 mugs and they were imported from China. She signed off on the art proof, and instead of saying Arizona, said Arizonia, and we had 1,000 mugs with Arizonia, and we had them in the store for a long time before somebody finally pointed that out. So we ended up having to sell those at the local swap meet. So that approval process is a really, really important part of this whole discussion, because we want to get the artwork in front of the customer, have them sign off on it, but we can also use approvals as part of a technique to prospect. So I'm going to show you a workflow that we're going to do, and I'm going to show you a faster, better, more productive way of producing artwork that is not going to require a graphic designer. If you are a graphic designer, you have graphic designers on staff, that's great. But with this technique we're going to show you, we don't need a designer at all, not in the least. If you are a designer, we're just going to make you more efficient. But this technique I'm going to show you does not require a graphic designer. The net result that we're going to get is a file that's production ready that can go out to your equipment. So without further ado, let me kind of go through the workflow so you can see how it works. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a GraphicsFlow account, and in my GraphicsFlow account, I'm going to configure what we call an art portal. So GraphicsFlow is the namesake of our company. It is our main product line. There's Nancy's art portal. I'm going to go over to my GraphicsFlow account. And so a couple of the things that I've done is I have uploaded artwork from my system in the common graphics formats to my GraphicsFlow account, so that I have the ability to store the artwork safely and securely, but I also have the ability to share it with my customers. And to me, that's a pretty big deal. Then the other thing I've done is I've configured what we call an art portal. And this is an art portal. I'll show you different examples of art portals so you can kind of see what different examples of an art portal look like. But we're going to go over here. I'm going to go over to my little bookmarks, and I'll show you some good examples. So here's an example of an art portal. This particular art portal is embedded into an Inksoft store. And so this is an Inksoft store. It's a demo store. We get leads on this all day long. People just find this silly little store through random Google searches, not sure how it happens, and they go in here and they click on these designs and they submit art requests all day long. And I get them all day long. It's pretty funny. I'll look the client up and figure out who it is and forward it on to one of you guys, and you can follow up with them. So this is an example of an embedded art portal. Then what we'll do is I'll show you an example of a couple different ones that are done more custom. This is a custom art portal. This one's built into this particular client's store. And here's their home page right here. And then when you click on this little link right here, it's going to go to their art portal. And again, same idea, their customers can go in here and submit art requests this way by scrolling through designs and searching. We'll get into that a little deeper. There's also an example. I have some really good ones. There's a new one we just did. Yeah, this is a Sage store. So this is a store that's managed through Sage. Super easy to configure this because go to their Sage store and there's a little button that says Design Ideas. We click on Design Ideas and we have design ideas embedded right directly into their Sage store. Not a link to our art portal, but their art portal embedded. Isn't that cool? I'll show you what it looks like in an ASI store, and you guys kind of get the idea. So this art portal is going to be the primary way that we are going to direct clients to select their artwork, and it is the way that we are going to grab new clients. It's going to be our lead generator, and we'll talk about that as we go through this workflow here. So let's go over here and we'll do, I know I've got one ASI one, got a couple ASI ones here, but I think Shields is an ASI one. Did she just update her look and feel of her? Yeah, a little bit. So this is an ASI one, and she added browse graphics. In this one, it's going directly to our kind of configured art portal. This is not an embed. This is just the art portal that was configured through her GraphicsFlow account. So this one's more generic in nature, and she's added her own logo. We changed the color scheme. There's a little need help button here. We changed what we want the header to say. And this is a way for her to get this in front of her clients and embed it into her store to make it easy for her customers to pull out artwork and also attract new people. And honestly, it just makes you look like a bigger deal than you are. And so the reason that your clients come to you with all this art that they've designed on Custom Ink or one of these other, Spreadshirt or one of these other websites, or found in a random Google search or Etsy or Facebook or Pinterest, is that most of the time we can't provide them with an alternative, right? We can't provide them for an alternative to look through artwork. Art Portal is that art alternative. And so the way that I would configure my art portal is I would go into my GraphicsFlow account, I'd go into account settings, I would upload my logo, I would go to my art portal, I would enable the things that I want my customers to search through. Then what I would do is I would go over here and I would add any links that I want on my art portal. So I'm backlinking to my home page. I'm going to leave the contact form up in the need help option so they can watch a little instructional video. I'm going to determine who is going to get the art requests and who is going to get the form submittals for the contact form. I'm going to configure my logo, its size and physical location, and I'm going to match the buttons and the header text and the header background to my logo. And then I'm going to determine what I want to have in here. Browse our design library or whatever I want it to say and whatever I want to say in the description. Now, if I'm going to do an embed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this embed code and I'm going to embed this art portal into another web page, like a landing page. And when we were showing you that Sage embed, pretty cool. And that's really a super easy thing to do. If you're a Sage user, it's a really easy thing to do. If you're an ASI stores person, even easier. Inksoft, super easy, drag and drop, super easy to embed these art portals, okay? And we'll help you with all that. So I have my art portal, and let's play this out as a example of a real world situation. I'm in a small community in central Wisconsin, Bedford, Wisconsin, kind of where the cradle of where our family's from. And I'm doing, let's say I have a business that's screen printing and embroidery, and we do sublimation, maybe have a direct to garment printer, order some transfers in from Stalls, some of these other places, and I'm wanting to go and pursue the local fire department. And so I'm talking to the fire chief, and he says, I say, hey, chief, I really, I know we go to church together, and we're, I've known your family for years, but I'd really like you to consider us for your vendor for doing your next round of t-shirts and things for your family members. I know you guys do that once a year. You do these kind of family member shirts, so just kind of a goodwill, kind of feel good thing for everybody that's in the volunteer fire department. So what I'd like you to do, I'm going to send you an email. I'd like you to go to my art portal, and you can go in and you can pick out some fire department designs, and then I'll go ahead and mock it up. So just pick out your favorite design. So just go in there and you can just type in fire, or you can go to the category and pick fire department under first responders if you want to. So you could just go over here and just click on that, or you could just type in fire department, whatever you want to do, and I want you to pick out a design. So this is the user experience from the end user, and the end user is going through here. They're looking at the designs, and maybe he lands on this one. He's like, oh, that's really cool. And he lands on this one. He's looking at, maybe he picks a couple, but let's say they land on this one, right? So we're going to land on this one, and Chief is going to say, can we change Medford to Medford 2022? Yeah, let's put in whatever they want. So I'm just going to add it. Could add another item, and we're going to go ahead and submit that, and Chief's going to put his name in there and all that kind of fun stuff. If you use our last name in Medford, Wisconsin, everybody knows the Mertens Crew. Well, my grandfather also owned the stockyards there for years too, until it blew up. It did blow up. I almost would not be here if that stockyard. He'd been 10 minutes later, I wouldn't be on this webcast because that sucker had a gas explosion and completely blew up, and he had just left 10 minutes earlier. So, so Craig, can we put this on gray crew necks and t-shirts? All right, cool. So we'll make sure we're not a robot there. The design is submitted. So the experience that the end user is going to have is this going to come in as a design request. So they're going to see this right here, and then they're going to be emailed a confirmation. So they're going to get emailed a confirmation. And I probably already got my confirmation here, so we can take a look at that real quick to see what I got as my confirmation. It's probably already come in. Yep, there it is. So this is notifying me that this has come in. There's all the details. So this is notifying me, and I can click on this and go right to the design request. So this is for me as the vendor. Since I'm also the customer here, this is the confirmation for me as the customer. And you notice it says, my information, design request thing. It's got my logo in here, all that kind of stuff. So, and if you do not put your logo in there, it will say GraphicsFlow. So you want to put your logo in there. So that's really important. So where did this design request go to? Where is it going to be? Well, let me show you where it's going to be. It's going to be in my GraphicsFlow account. And so when I go to design requests, that just came in here, and it's like, okay, this came in here from, let's see what's going on here. So this came in here, and it says, okay, this came in from this guy, and I'm going to put a note in here. Make sure we get paid first, or paid 50% up front. These guys are slow pay. So that's just in there in the account record. Customer doesn't see this. I am going to assign this to an artist or a person, and we are going to convert this to an art approval. And I'm just going to name the art approval Medford Volunteer Fire Department, because we're going to come back to that. So I'm just going to convert that to an art approval, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this design and kind of look at it and say, okay, can we change Medford to 2022? So one thing I might do is I might pop an email back to Chief and say, hey, Chief, we need, what color shirts are you going to put this on? When do you need it by? What's your budget? Oh, wait, hold on. He already put that in there, right? So I don't necessarily need to do that, but let's think of it in this terms. Let's say this is some rando person that found us on the internet or was a referral. We've never done business with them before. So we have a lead now. So this is really cool. We have a lead now. Now I can email them, or if I want to, I can call them and say, hey, we got your art request. Tell me a little bit more about your company, what you're looking for. We'd like to, we take pride in the fact that we can customize for you. Do you have a budget? Do you know what your number of units you need is going to be? Oh, you need 4 dozen? Okay, well, since you're doing 4 dozen, we can do either a digital transfer or a screen print. oh, you only need a dozen? Well, if we're only gonna do a dozen, then we're maybe gonna use our vinyl cutter. What color shirts did you put those on? Oh, navy blue? Okay, well, we can get transfers made. You know, all these different kind of nuanced things. But ultimately, what I really want to do at this point is edit this design. And so here's kind of the options for editing. Okay, number one is I have Adobe Illustrator. You know, we in our system, you have to have one of the two major professional graphics programs. And the reason for that is there's certain effects and things like this fire department has a blended effect. See, it has a masked off 2-layer effect where it says fire department. We have to have a program that's capable of handling these kind of effects and specialized envelopes like the shapes of the letters, circle text. And you don't really generally see that level of editing in the consumer level programs. You can get kind of close with a program like Canva or some of these programs, but the professional graphics programs like CorelDRAW and Adobe Illustrator all have the ability to do those complex types of effects and editing. So we need to have a professional graphics file to do that. And a lot of times clients will ask us, well, hey, why can't we, you know, do this in the cloud? Why can't we have a clients edit the file? Well, we can. You know, that's Inksoft, that's our parent company. We have the ability to do that, but we have to dumb the design down in order to have a client self-edit. We can't have, you know, these kind of more complex designs. So it's kind of a trade-off. If you want cooler, more complex designs, we have to really be able to edit those in Corel or Illustrator. Now, if I went into this file and I said, hey, I'm gonna download this as an AI file, I can suck this file right into Adobe Illustrator and I can go in and manually group it and, you know, just the way anybody would edit any kind of design and edit that template. And, you know, I can manually recolor it. I can do all of that. If I have CorelDRAW, I can do the same thing. But if I have the Smart Designer add-on software for CorelDRAW, I can edit it really quickly. And I don't need an artist to do that. I can have a front office person do that. I can have one of my teenagers that's doing a summer internship do that. I can have anybody within the organization can do it. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna click on download. Well, let me show you something real quick here. I have configured my Chrome browser. And we're just going to go down here into Chrome and go to Settings and Advanced and Downloads. I've configured Chrome to allow me to select where the file is going to go. And I've also configured Chrome so that when I download files, that it will allow it to open up into the application I choose. So the first time I download a file, here, we'll clear this, so I'll show you how I set that up. The first time I download a file, it's going to ask me, do you want to open these files up in the future? And I'll say yes to that. And you can do the same thing in Microsoft Edge and in Safari and Firefox as well. I'm not a huge fan of Firefox for running web apps because Firefox is a freeware program and it's kind of community coded and it's not necessarily 100% compliant with running web apps. So anytime you run into problems and you're in Firefox, we're like, hey, you're in Firefox. So we would certainly recommend Safari or Edge or Chrome as preferred web browsers. So let's go back to our account and then we're gonna go back and download this file. So watch what happens. When I go down here and click on download, it's gathering the file. It's gonna prompt me to select a location where I'd like to download this file. Now I could use just the default location for downloads on my computer. Mac or Windows doesn't make any difference. I could just let it go to downloads. You know, I could go over here and say, hey, just go to downloads. Or what I'm gonna do is I have a shortcut here, says template downloads, and this is going to a specific template downloads folder, and I'll show you why I did that in a second. So we're gonna click on download and the file's gonna download. So we're gonna download that file. So this is how you get it to open up in your graphics program of choice right here. If you go down here, once it downloads, hopefully you guys can see that, watch. Go over here and just say always open files of this type. So now when I download it, watch what happens. I'm gonna re-download it real quick. Now it's just gonna open up in CorelDRAW. And so once it opens in Corel, now I can go and do the editing. So that's something that we recommend doing because it makes it really seamless and really quick. And we'll go over here and this file is gonna open and there it is. How cool is that? So we just have it open right up into CorelDRAW and I'm gonna hit F4 to zoom in and I don't need to know really anything about Corel at this point. We got all this stuff going on in Corel, that's fine. I need to know how to use the pick tool. I need to know how to use the shape tool to reshape like nodes and stuff or change kerning. I need to know how to use the zoom tool and the text tool. That's it. I don't have to know how to do anything else because here's how we're going to edit the file. This is Smart Designer. This is our very famous add-on software for CorelDRAW. People, Adobe Illustrator users ask me this question all the time, and I'll answer it as politely as I can. Listen, I'm too old to fight tribal loyalties over graphics programs. If you are trained in Adobe Illustrator and that's your jam and you're totally comfortable and you're quick in it, by all means, you are welcome to use our graphics with Adobe Illustrator. But you are in the minority. The majority of people are not professionally trained. Graphic designers have not gone into school, and Adobe Illustrator, and I've been using it since 1988, is a very complex program, and it's not easy to learn. CorelDRAW is also a complex program, but it is, generally speaking, easier to learn than Adobe, and I find it to be more intuitive. But that's really not the issue. The issue is what we're going to do right here. Is just we're just using Corel in the background to kind of as the engine. We're going to have Smart Designer do all the heavy lifting, and that's what all of this stuff is. And so we don't have the ability to do this kind of integration into the Adobe programs. Corel uses a different type of architecture where they just hand us the keys to the car and say, hey, you can go manipulate our program however you want. And that's what we do. So what I'm going to do is refresh this template real quick here. And we're going to leave fire department right there. We could change that. Maybe I want to, you could change this to another word, if this is going to be a, cougars, and then just hit uppercase for uppercase. You could change that, but I'm going to change it back to fire, DEPT. And I don't really need the period. I can put the period. Now, if I put the period in there, you notice it squeezes it, right? It looks good with the period. Okay, so let's do that. Volunteer, we don't have to change that. But 20, we're going to put 2022 in here. I don't have to select anything. I don't have to go and ungroup anything. It's just done. And, the basics of the design are done. And if I wanted to use a different Maltese, like say maybe it's their Maltese, I could come over here and I could go to change art and, back to that cougar thing. You just click on it and it'll show you what's going to change. And then you just hit select and our little graphics browser comes up and then you can change the art. And, we'll put, in honor of Medford, Wisconsin, we'll put this sloped back Hereford, which I was told that this is not a good show cow because the back is too sloped. It should have a straight across back. And I said, well, this isn't a show cow. This is a dinner plate cow. This is a cow that's headed towards steaks. So this, Gusper thought that was funny. I thought it was pretty funny. But we're going to go back to the original artwork right there. But I just want to show you could change the artwork out. Now here's the thing. Let's talk for a second. It's one thing to be able to take a design and edit it. That's great. We did a very simple basic design, but it's another thing to get it ready for our production processes. So for instance, vinyl graphics, getting this file set up for color separations for screen printing. Now I have a digital printer, maybe I have direct to film or DTG or sublimation, getting it color corrected because the colors that you see on the screen here are not the colors that are going to be utilized uh, they're not the same colors that my printer is going to print. The printer is going to print the colors differently. So what we advocate is this, is we advocate printing out these wonderful color charts that we have. Go to our color management feature in Smart Designer and go over here and say print color charts. And what I could do is I could print out a color chart for, let's say, the Pantone matching system. If I click on this and click on OK, this is going to open up a one-page color chart that I can print onto my substrate. And this color chart's got a lot of colors, so it takes a little while to open. And I could print that out onto my substrate. Let's say it's going to be a ash gray t-shirt, and I know exactly what color to pick to try to match to the color that I'm going for. And maybe I look at it and the color that comes up that we need is this warm red, or maybe it's 032 red. That's what we really need to do. So all I need to do is when I'm back working on this template is just go down here and just say, right in templates, it says, hey, edit colors, and then just click on it and then just say swap. We'll go over here. I don't have to click on anything or select anything, and let's make that 032. Cool, done. And now it's going to print exactly the way we want. And maybe over here, we need 189, Pantone 189, which is pretty dark, but that's navy blue. If you want to know what navy blue is, it is 189. That is 189. 189, not 189C. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe I'm losing my mind. Da, da, da. We'll go get a nice blue out of here. We can use this one right here. So it's recoloring the whole design globally. So I don't have to go in and I'm not having to go in here and manually recolor. I'm just select anything. Now, something that's interesting in Adobe Illustrator, this would be a mask. So this split would be a mask. So we'd have an object that is sitting over the top of half of this word fire department. It's masking it off. In Corel, it's a little different. This is a power clip. And so if I right click on this, I can extract the contents of the power clip, and if I wanted to make it a little bit deeper, we could do that. We're gonna undo that, but this is like version 1 of the design. And so what I'm thinking of is maybe I'll present a couple different versions to this particular customer, and let's do that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over here and duplicate this page and this graphic. I'm just gonna say copy this over, and let's do one that's maybe a little bit more digitally oriented. So I can actually rename this just to original. And this one, we're gonna rename this to digital. So let's say I have a device that can print full color, and I don't have to worry about the number of colors because this is a 3-color design right now. And the reason I know that is there's the color separations, because this is already color separated: white, blue, and red. Here's the Pantone numbers. If it wasn't color separated, I would go over here and click on convert to spot colors, and I would go in and it would automatically color separate it. If it had extra colors in it, I could merge colors or reduce colors, but this is already ready to go. I can print film. If I'm a screen printer, I can go in on this file and I can print film. And so my life is really, really good, and I don't have to have an artist to do that because it's done by virtue of 2 things: the software and the way the art was created by our art department. So that's one thing. But as I come over here, this is where we can have some fun. So number 1, I could take this and extract, right click that block, so we don't need that anymore, and add an effect to this. Now this has a little X through it, and that's indicating that's a power clip. And what that means is if I put something over the top, it's just gonna kind of suck into that design. You see how it did that? Actually, that looks pretty good, just like that. But I don't want that. What I wanna do is just extract this, delete it, we don't need it. And then I'm gonna right click on this to get rid of that frame. So I'm just gonna remove the frame. Okay, so we've got this and we want to jazz it up a little bit. So if I'm going full digital, what I might do is take this, and I'm in Smart Design. I don't have to know all this fancy stuff. So I'm going to go down here to Effects, and under Effects, I'm going to pick Outline Effects, and I'm not going to do an effect for vinyl cutting. I'm going to do an effect for digital. So we're going to go down here, and then I'm just going to click on that, and cool effect. So look on that. Everything on here can be edited. I want to click on that and get rid of the shadow, I can do it. Now, if I want to be a little bit more traditional, what I might do is click on this and do an effect like this. It's the standard old effect. And I have a choice. I can have the colors be knocked through, or I can have the colors sitting on top of each other. In this case, I'm not going to knock the white inline through here. I'm going to have it be an actual white because I actually want to print this in white. And so we're going to go over here and we're just going to say remove underlays. So if we were doing vinyl, you won't have overlapping objects. It's kind of slick. And then we're just going to hit apply. Boom. So solid white back in here. There's your white. And then you got this object right in here. That's how we roll. Okay, just like that. So what we're doing now is going to undo that. Is maybe we want to stack these instead of having them trimmed through, because maybe we're doing applique. So I would uncheck that. And so now when I do this, whoops, gonna click on it. Solid blue, solid white, solid blue. And one thing I'm gonna do is I am gonna make this red. So I'm just gonna grab my dropper over here and we're gonna kind of combine up that color. There we go. Whoop. Actually, easier way of doing it. This is the power user way of doing it. If you hold your shift key down and your right mouse button, you can just drag and drop. So we're back to, we've got this, and maybe we maybe we want to add a little bit of digital to this. So we could take this right here, that layer, maybe we put a bevel effect on it. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to go to Effects and I'm going to add a bevel effect. Just going to go over here and we're going to add a bevel. We're just going to click on bevel and that's going to give it just a slight little 3D effect right there. You see that? So we got this little 3D effect going on there. I could do the same thing with the stars. That might be an interesting thing. Could do it with this set of text down here. We could do that. Yeah, not crazy about that. I think I liked it before. But all we're doing is adding a little bit of visual value to the design, giving it some dimension. And so in the world of Smart Designer, it doesn't take a lot to spruce something up because we have all these wonderful effects we can just apply. And none of these effects require the skill sets of a graphic designer. All these effects are, anyone can do this. And so this is the type of stuff that graphic designers are typically doing. You're probably going to hear the dog bark because there's somebody at the door. But that's pretty typical. So how are we going to get this in front of the customer? Well, here, I'll show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in my Smart Designer software and we're going to create a virtual sample. And the chief asked for crew necks. So this one, I'm just going to click on that crew neck and it's going to put it on that kind of Oxford gray crew neck. And that's actually more of an ash, but looks really good. And then over here, we're going to take this one and we're going to do the t-shirt because they were talking about the t-shirt. And this is a great example of kind of giving them a couple options. Because if we do this one, we could get this done with like a direct to film transfer and we can do more of that digital stuff and we can have more colors in it. This one over here, I might add a weather effect to it. And I think I am, because I think a weather effect is going to look awesome on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this little button right here, and that's going to open up what's called the overlays docker. And first thing I want to do is take this little dropper right here and select the shirt color. That's the first thing I want to do. The second thing I want to do is click this button to say, hey, pull the overlay in the same color as the shirt color. That's awesome. So we're just going to click on the overlay, and the overlay is now in the shirt color. So now Chief can see this with this weather effect, which I believe looks really great, and then they can see the original design just as it is. So we have everything set up, and if we really wanted to go for it, maybe what we'll do is do the same design on, we could do it on a Yeti too, and maybe he wasn't really thinking of us for a Yeti, and we want to put it on a Yeti and maybe have it UV printed. That'd be kind of neat. So let's do that. Let's throw it on a Yeti or just a typical tumbler here. So let's go and do that too. There you go, looks good. I don't really have to change anything. So I think it looks awesome. So let us go in and save these files. So I'm going to go in and save all these files, and I'm saving everything to one folder. So we're going to save this to the same folder, and this is going to be nice and neatly organized on my computer, and maybe it's on my server. It's wherever I want to save the file. But we're going to go in here and call this Medford Fire. Okay. So this one, Medford Fire Tumbler. There's that. This one, we're going to call this one Medford Fire Oxford Tea. There's that. This one over here, we're going to call this Medford Fire Crewneck. And then we have the original design, which is down here. And we're going to save that one. Got to do a save as because this we're saving. I don't want to save over the top of the one we download. I want to create a new file. And so Medford Fire. And this is just the design. Maybe number it 01. Okay, so we got all the art collateral. Okay, so everything's saved, everything's on. We're ready for production. We can send this off. This is color separated. So, if I want to, print film from this for, color separations, that's a feature of Smart Designer. I can just go over here and go to printing and cutting and say, hey, let's go to color separations. If there's a halftone in there, we'll set up the halftone settings if we need to do that. If we're gonna separate the colors for screen printing, we're gonna go over here and say, hey, let's go ahead and there's no halftones in there, so we can see that. And we're gonna go ahead and set up for film. So it's gonna color separate that. So I don't have any extra work here. This is all, there's your steps, it's already done. I can put an underbase in. If I want to underbase this, I just go over here to flash base and say, hey, do you want to ignore the darker colors? Yep, I do. And do you want to do a choker spread? Yep or no? Just hit apply. So if you're one of those nerdy screen printing type people, there you go. It's already created the flash base. It's ignored the dark colors because you wouldn't flash under the blue anyways, and we're ready to roll. You could force it to flash under everything. If you don't know what flashing is, then be grateful that you don't have to know that, because that means you're probably a screen printer. Okay, so this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save as this, and we're going to call this Medford Fire Seps. And that's your separations file. So we got everything going. And so everything's rocking and rolling. We're going to go over here and just set this file up so we can do some proofing. So we still have to get this in front of Chiefs. We got to get it in front of Chief. So we've got the ideas. We're feeling really good about ourselves, but we want Chief to be able to see these files. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a proof. So I could have him proof the CDR files, the original CDR files, because when we upload them to GraphicsFlow, it will create a preview of those. But if we really want them to look great, what we're going to do is we're going to export all these out as PNG files, because PNG files load really great for the web. Now, those of you that are Inksoft users, which there's a bunch of you on the, you're going to export the file for the vector file as an actual SVG file, because when you bring that into Inksoft, you can set up and do colorways, so you actually can change the colors in your Inksoft platform. But just for web purposes, PNG, transparent background, this is how you'd set up a web store too. Same thing over here. File, export, PNG, transparent background. Just takes a second to do that. Here's the T, export. So this is purely for the proof. That's all this is. And I know you guys are all thinking like, well, what if the customer wants to steal the design? You know, what's going to prevent them from doing that? Well, if they're sleazy, nothing. You know, you can get nasty and legal with them, but you know, the person's not very honest. How much you can do? But we're not going to make it easy for them. Because when I created an art approval, when we send back that art approval, we're going to watermark it. But before we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to upload this file to GraphicsFlow, because we create a folder, Medford Fire, because for a couple reasons. So first reason, I want it safely and securely stored in the cloud. So if my computer blows up or I get a ransomware attack, I don't have to worry about where my artwork is. Safely and securely stored in the cloud. Number two, anybody in my organization can grab it. So anybody that's logged into my GraphicsFlow account can grab it. When I upload artwork in GraphicsFlow, it will create the previews, even for embroidery files. And I'll show you something that we did recently that was kind of neat. And we'll go over here and go to that folder that I created. And it was the Medford folder. We're going to take everything to do with that Medford folder, and we're going to upload the whole caboodle. So we're going to upload everything that has to do with this file, everything, the whole thing. We're going to upload it. All the art production files, all the preview files, all the original CDR files, everything is uploaded, okay? If I upload this, we recently added support for non-graphics file formats. So we added the ability to upload Word docs. We added the ability to upload EMB files for Wilcom, PES files from Brother, .draw files from Drawings, and I think those are the main embroidery file formats. We can already upload a DST file, and DST file will generate a preview, but the non-graphics formats like, you know, Wilcom and Brother and Drawings, you can upload the files, so you can have the file store, but we don't, you'd have to have a separate like PNG preview for them. So, because we can't generate previews from those formats. But all the other graphics formats we can generate previews from: SVG files, Adobe Illustrator files, CDR, PSD, Photoshop files, all of them, previews. So what I want to do is I just want to add this over to my little art approval for Chief. So we're going to say, okay, let's add this one, the graphic itself, this one, and this one. I think that's everything I wanted. Yeah, the crew neck, the Oxford, the tumbler, and the graphic. Yeah, that's all I want. That's all we need. And we're just going to add this to that art approval that we created, remember? So when we got the request came in, we created an art approval and we're just going to add it to that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this off to Chief and have him look at the designs. Now here's the thing. I don't want Chief to look at the original design, so I'm going to delete the original design. So I'm going to go to art approvals real quick here. And we're going to go over here to Medford Volunteer. And the original design is going to be at the very bottom. So we don't need this one, doesn't say Medford, so we're just going to delete it. Don't need it. So it's not deleting the actual art file, just the preview. So we're going to do that. And then what we're going to do is we are going to set up this art approval exactly the way we want it to be set up. So do we want to put any descriptions in here? Do we want the actual art to be at the top? I think so. We're going to put the art at the actual top. So I move that to the top. And one of the things we're going to do with the art, I'm definitely going to go in and do a watermark on it, because I just don't know, man. I'd like to think everybody's honest, and we go to church together and everything, but yeah, my dad used to say, don't leave the money on the counter and come back and expect it to be there, right? So we're going to go and click on this design, or I could click on view details, either one, and we're going to change the background color here, and I'm going to put it on kind of that gray background right there. So we're going to change the background, and then I'm going to add a watermark. So I'm going to go and put a text watermark on there. And that watermark could be either the light color combination or it could be the dark color combination. It's kind of up to me how I do it. And so light looks pretty good. See what dark looks like. And that's a global setting. So it's kind of up to me what I want that to look like. And if I don't want a watermark on it, just say none. Go over here and just click on none, and you can just turn it off or turn it on. It's up to you. So this is a messaging system. So if we send this over to the customer, okay, they're being messaged on this, and they're saying, hey, this is available for you to approve. Anything that I put in this description, here is the original graphic, we can make adjustments to the colors, okay, boom. So that's the description in there. They can comment. When this goes over to the customer, if they want to comment and they want to change something, hey, can we do this on black? We can do that. We can put pricing information, size distribution. We can put all of that in this, because how we're going to get this over to the client is like this. We're going to share it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put the email for the customer in here. And then what we're going to do is we might add multiple people, but we're also going to put in the message, Chief, here are the design concepts that I put together for you. We have a special on tumblers. Tumblers, no minimum. You are welcome to add these to your order. $20 each. Boom. Back sale, a little backload. Maybe I get a little Roland BN20 or I had some stickers made. Boom. I have a UV printer. So Chief is getting emailed this. So Chief is going to have that emailed to him, and they're going to get an email and saying, hey, what's this going on? They're going to open it, and they're going to look at this whole thing right here. They're not going to see any of this stuff. So they're not going to see make sure we get paid. That's just internal. What they're going to see is this, okay? And then Chief can go and make a comment. Chief's like, hey, could we see it on black? I get emailed with a comment. I also get notified in the app. Sure, refresh your browser. I'm gonna go and change this to black. Why not? I don't think it's gonna look good. In my opinion, it looks terrible. So he comes back and he's like, ugh, let's stick with gray. We're doing it, yeah, all the correspondence, all the communication. It's not a big long email string. There is emails backing all this up. It's stored in this document. So when Chief finally, we get everything settled and they approve the art, approve, 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 they have to click on the little disclaimer. So when they click on these designs and do the final approval, the disclaimer is going to come up, and they have to click through that. And the advantage of the disclaimer is this: all designs representing this art approval and intellectual property of Craig's creations. You are not permitted to take the art we create to other vendors, and unauthorized use of these designs is a violation of international copyright. So there's three things going on. Number one, I've already told them if I'm creating original art that you can't take it to somebody else. So I've told them that already. It's being reinforced with the copyright over the top of the watermark, and it's being further reinforced when they click on this. And are they going to read it? It's hard to say. I would hope they would, but there's no guarantee of that. And I am going to go ahead and click on approve art. This has been approved. So I was just sent an email saying, hey, this was approved. Chief was just sent an email that said, hey, this was approved. And it just came into my GraphicsFlow account as this is approved right here. And it says, hey, this is approved. I think we approved it, didn't we? And it is stored and archived there. I don't have to worry about him coming back in the future and complaining that it's not done. It's all sitting there. And all these little approvals that you see in here, there's all kinds of fun stuff that I've done, like this Teamsters design. I've never filed these away, but I can file them, and all the comments are still there. So all the comments are still there. All the comments are all tied to email correspondence as backup. There's a backup to the approval because an email was sent out for the approval. And when I'm all done with this particular document, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to file it, because I can just file it. All I got to do is file it. If I go over here to my art approvals, these are all open. So if I want to file this one, just archive it. File that one, just archive it. And it's just sitting in my archive. I can always go back to it. I'm in my open queue, but now I'm going to go to my archive. And the coolest part is we can apply keywords to all these files. So like if I go over here, we'll go back to that Medford folder. And all these designs already said Medford on it. So these all say Medford on them already. So I can search by Medford. And if I type in the word Medford, they're all going to come up because it's in the file name. But I can also go in and select these files and add a keyword tag. So I can say edit tags, and then we'll type in the keyword fire department. And we've added that keyword. And so now if I go over here and type in fire D, all these designs are going to come up. What if I want to edit this design again? Remember? So we want to edit this design. What if I want to edit it? No problem. Download. It's just going to pop right back into Smart Designer again to edit. That's it. Here's the original design. We just downloaded page 1, page 2. So this is the modern way of working with artwork. And why do we advocate this technique? We advocate it for lots of reasons. Number one is cost reduction. Like we were talking about early in the webcast, artists are expensive, and we know some of you are artists and you have value. But here's the thing: if we reduce the amount of time and energy and expenditure on artwork, we're reducing our overhead, and that's good for the health of our business. Number two, consumer habits have shifted so much. People are so accustomed to purchasing online. We have to make it convenient for them. And making the selection and that process of getting that artwork in front of the customers convenient is a critical component to a successful apparel decoration and personalization industry or business in today's marketplace. Third thing, lead times, man. With all the supply shortages and all the drama you guys go through trying to track down your blanks, you have to have some lead time. So if you can get the artwork in front of the customer, get the artwork approved, that buys you time to scramble to get the inventory to produce the job. That's a hugely important thing. The days of all these, sending people emails with JPEG attachments and PDFs and all this correspondence and have to track that, you don't have to do that. You have the ability to do that right within your GraphicsFlow account. And with Smart Designer, it just makes it super easy to go in and edit your files. All the things that people are doing that require, a skill set, in a graphics program, whether it's Corel or Illustrator or Affinity or Canva or any of these types of programs, you know, Smart Designer automates all that stuff. If you want to do circle text, you want to go in here and you don't have to know the 20 steps to do circle text. All you got to do is know your settings. You know, maybe you want to make a solid gray background on there, and you just want to hit apply, and it's, you know, it's done for you. You know, if you want to put a piece of clip art in here, you know, just select that clip art, and you've got your graphics browser and Smart Designer, and you can put this little cougar right in there, and the cougar goes in there. This is a template now. You come over here, it's not an exciting template, but it's a template nonetheless. And you can go over here and go to edit text and say cougars. Go over here and type in central. It's a template. You want to recolor it? You don't have to learn how to manually recolor. Just go down here and say, okay, we want to edit colors. We want to reduce these colors. So we do want to keep the red, black, maybe white if there's white in the graphic, and the gray. These are the colors we want to keep. Actually, we don't even want to keep gray. We're going to keep these two colors. And we're going to do a color reduction. It's reduced it. These colors are now shades. This is a shade of red. This is a shade of black. Pretty cool. I want to change these to shades of navy blue or whatever. I'm going to say uncheck this box right here, say swap colors, and the colors are now linked together. And so when I click on this black and I swap it to blue, it's going to do blue and shades of blue. If I had that box checked, I could color the colors independently. Pretty slick, huh? So these are all shades. Pretty awesome. So all this stuff that you guys are doing manually, and you know, programs, player names and numbers. If you want to do an athletic tail, you know, you can literally get lost in Smart Designer with all the features, but you don't have to learn how to do any of that stuff. Everything we do is automated. And so if you know, if you're one of these people that's really, and I did talk to a customer, it was pretty interesting. Her daughter is going to school for graphic design, so she's going to have her daughter help out in the business. And this particular client is a CorelDRAW user, and so they're going to switch to Adobe. But I told her, I said, you know, you can switch to Adobe, and it's great that your daughter's learning how to do all this stuff. I'm just going to create an athletic tail real quick here. It's great that your daughter's learning to do all this stuff, but I don't think her intention is to continue to stay on and work with you, right? And she's like, no, she's just gonna, you know, almost like an internship, and it's gonna go and weld this all up and get this all set up for me. And so I said, well, if that's the case, then what you're going to want to do is, then when she leaves, what are you going to do? You're going to hire another artist? No, I'm going to end up having to do this myself. And I said, well, you know, learning, I think you're in for an eye opener, because learning Adobe Illustrator is a vocation, and it's an amazing program, but it's not something for the, you know, that you can just pick up. And she goes, you already know Corel? And she goes, yeah. So why don't you do this? Why don't you let her do all her thing in Illustrator, where she's got to learn for her vocation? And why don't you do your thing in Corel and Smart Designer? And she's like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Let's add an effect to this. Go down here and we'll just add a quick little effect in here, do an outline effect, and we'll set this up for cutting, and then we'll knock the inline color out. So it's just, well, actually we're gonna make this a one color when we're all done, I think. So we're gonna set that up, take that, just gonna trim that through, delete it, we don't need it anymore, make the whole thing red. Why not? There you go. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's a Smart Designer. Just taking all this complicated stuff and making it easy. And so if you combine Smart Designer as your design tool, we don't care if you're going to still continue to use Illustrator. That's fine. I have clients, the art department uses Illustrator, their sales and front office people use Corel. We're just going to save this as an Illustrator file when we're all done. Then the art department can do whatever they want with it. But when it comes down to quickly, easily, and efficiently creating graphics, CorelDRAW and Smart Designer is just going to be faster. And I do professional consulting for big companies. I did a consulting job for a company that had over 100 artists. They were all using Adobe Illustrator. They're all Windows based, using Adobe Illustrator. We don't care, Windows, Mac, care less. And they were using Adobe Illustrator on Windows computers. We did a pilot program with them on CorelDRAW and Smart Designer. Now they have 20 artists. And you know, I'm not proud of the fact that the company, you know, laid off 80 people, but 100% of those people were going to get laid off. And the reason they were getting laid off is they were being outsourced overseas. Now we kept everybody here in the US. And so the idea is, if a big company that has a professional graphics capability, and all these graphic designers can cut their art department time by 80%, then probably somebody that's not a great graphic designer to begin with, or somebody that's less efficient, can probably cut it down by even more of that. Because what we're doing is we're doing one step where everyone else is doing 20. What we're doing is not having to have any knowledge or experience to set up this real cool single color athletic tail for maybe vinyl cutting or screen printing, versus having to know how to do the welding and the trimming and the outlining and the deleting and the the welding of the script text and the layering, moving the cross country word to the front when they weld it. All that, you don't have to know that. You just click a button. That's the whole idea. And so you combine GraphicsFlow, where you have access to this massive library of production-ready digital art that we're adding every single month, and clip art, this incredible library of fonts, and you combine that with the design productivity of Corel and Smart Designer, and you have a graphics capability that's at the level of the biggest and best companies in our industry, and it might just be you. That's the exciting part. And you know what? When you get that really complex stuff that's outside your depth, you know what? We have a graphics service and they'll do it for you. If you go to our main website, you go to member area, you just link to the graphics service. They'll do those drawings of a tiger jumping through a hula hoop with flames with the stadium in the background and with the kid holding up a foam finger with #1. They'll do all that stuff for you. But for this bread and butter type of work, that's what Smart Designer is about, and that's what GraphicsFlow is all about. And we want to make it easy for your customers to work with you in our work. We don't want you having to be forensically rehabilitating, screen grabs of custom-made graphics. We want them on your art portal, picking out your designs. And it's just so fascinating to me to see the different ways that people integrate the art portal. I'm not sure what my favorite one is yet. I'm still collecting all these art portal integrations that customers are doing, but one that I thought, I don't know, I think this is my new favorite. I think this might be my new favorite. Posies. I think it's just simple and elegant and clean, and here's their art portal. I think you can't just get any cleaner than that. It's embedded. It looks really, really good. This is the faster, more productive way of doing artwork. And so I am going to close the recorded portion of the webcast. I will open it up for questions because I see there's tons of questions here. And then we'll go from there. So thanks for coming and hanging out with me. I know you guys will have questions. You're always welcome to email me. My email is Craig, not Greg, Craig, CRAIG, @graphicsflow.com. Thank you so much.